it all on audio. We're going to just kind of quickly recap front video. Oh, wow.
Do we know when it stopped?
Okay. And here we are, recording yet again. All right, so if you're watching on Facebook Live right now, we tried to do this before, and then I just realized the camera stopped recording. I'm having all kinds of issues with this new camera. The full podcast with her, Fiona, and him, Trevor, in the back seat, will be available on carconcarne.com. Here's what you missed if you're just now watching on Facebook Live. The food here at Old Irving Brewing is amazing. It's high-end. They serve amazing food. It's going to be coming out. This place is an anchor in the Old Irving area. It's really brought a lot of attention to the area, and we love Old Irving Brewing. Fiona, she owns her own law firm. She's an immigration lawyer. She immigrated here from Ireland several years back. She came here to Chicago. She fell in love with Chicago, mainly because she came in the summertime. Had you come in the winter, you would have gone right back to Dublin. Does that catch us up so far for the video?
I think so. Yeah, sounds good.
Technology has thwarted me. All right, so when we left off with you, Fiona, we were talking about you coming over. You came over in the summertime. You fell in love with Chicago. You had a year to stay here. Then how did you move forward?
So I went back home to Dublin, finished my law degree from there, and then a couple of years later I moved out permanently, and I've been here ever since. So I came out in 2005 to go to Chicago, Kent, to get my Juris Doctor from there, and yeah, I graduated in 2007 and have been practicing immigration law ever since. But you know, as we know, it's been in the media a lot over the past 2 years. I feel like prior to those couple of years, I'm not sure that people knew that I actually had a job as a practicing attorney, because people would say, what's immigration law? You know, what does that even mean?
Right, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you here, is because we hear so much about immigration. I don't know anything beyond the top line. People from other countries want to come here and live here. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's my layman's knowledge of immigration. So I thought you, as someone who has immigrated, as someone who practices immigration law, can just kind of explain the basics. What was the process like for you when you immigrated, and is it different now?
I guess every situation is different. You know, every client's case is different. There might be one or two facts that might separate them from another client. But, my story was I came here as a student, worked thereafter, started working for a law firm, and they sponsored my green card. I subsequently met my husband, and I'm married now with two kids, but you know, I did go through that immigration process before we got married. But everyone's path is different, and I think the goal is to just kind of highlight that immigrants do come from all over in different ways. We do a lot of music, entertainment immigration. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of business immigration, arts, you know, creative types, as well as family and kind of individual cases. So it's pretty varied.
So you work out of 2112, the music industry incubator we're on Montrose right now in front of Old Irving Brewing. But 2112 is this giant fortress-like, this pentagon-sized facility for the music industry. It's attached to Fort Knox, which is where all the bands practice. So you're right there at ground zero with all these bands rolling in and out of there.
Yeah, that's where our office is. We have a team of about 10, and that's where our primary office is based.
So as it pertains to musicians who come to you, what are you working on? What are you dealing with them?
Basically any foreign musician that wants to come and play in the US needs to have a visa for the gig. There are very minor exceptions to that, but the general rule is if you're, you know, a musician, a band, and you're coming into the US to perform, you need to get a visa. So we help them with that process. And
is that hard to get?
Yeah, of course, and like anything now, you know, the steps are taking longer, and it's become increasingly more difficult. And it's the type of thing that for bands, you know, they can only get visas 1 year at a time out, assuming they can show gigs for the duration. So, you know, it's the type of thing that it's not like they get a visa kind of in perpetuity. They do have to, you know, kind of renew it every time they want to come and tour, assuming, you know, the previous visa had expired. So.
Explain to me the social media rule that came up. Because I kind of understood that, but basically judges or someone can go back through someone's social media history and render judgment based on...
Yeah, it's not even that they can. There's actually an obligation on any visa applicant to furnish social media handles that they've had over the past 5+ years. So when anyone is going for any type of visa, there is a part of the form that they need to update it. So, we can foresee that potentially being an issue for clients, and you're just getting into potential policing of language, and it's just kind of an added layer of concern for some of our clients. And I guess it's just making people more cautious about what they say online, which I guess everyone can have their own opinion on that, but it's just a thing that we're definitely making sure that we advise our clients about that.
You doing okay back there, Trevor?
Oh yeah, I'm awesome.
I don't want to dismiss you.
I'm learning.
Oh,
See, and that's a productive night, right? And we're going to learn about food. Now, this information is already contained on the podcast, but just in case we missed it on the video, it bears repeating. What kind of burger of the week are you bringing out?
All right, I gotta look up the picture. We just released it today, so it's a little bit crazy, but it's on a house baked ciabatta roll that our baker Eric made, and then it's an 8-ounce patty, smoked turkey, house duck bacon, Beezer, our New England IPA pickled fig jam, whipped Taleggio cheese, arugula, and a tarragon and bacon fat aioli. You get all that, shot of whiskey and a beer for $15.
And that is the deal of the century.
Actually, speaking of food,
what do we have here?
oh my gosh.
I'm actually gonna have Matt spiel it, because I like to have the employees kind of do their thing.
Okay.
Since they know the stuff better. All right, Matt. Why don't you tell them what they have here?
Sure. So
Jeez.
Oh no.
Napkin.
That's fried zucchini.
Thank you.
It's strips of fresh zucchini.
Wait, hang on.
Breaded and fried.
Hang on, got to clean up the loaner car real quick.
He had a little
Here, I
oil
can do
spill. He tilted the plate. The garnish.
All right, sorry. So start from the beginning.
Sure. This is our
Thank you,
fried
Fiona.
zucchini appetizer. It's thin strips of fried zucchini that are egg washed and breaded and fried. On top of that goes a fresh herb gremolata, lime zest, lemon zest, and grated Parmigiano.
I love that, and I like the colors of it. I mean, it presents
Gorgeous.
beautifully.
It sits there on the plate, really pretty, and then it's all sitting on a bed of our house-made Beezer beer vinaigrette, Beezer beer vinegar aioli.
And that's the IPA.
New England IPA.
Magnificent. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I love this car service. In fact, this is the only way I will do this podcast from now on.
There you go. Yeah,
That's
like
it.
kind of a tasting menu.
All right.
You guys want to dig in a little bit, or do you want me to hold it for now?
Oh no, we want to dig in. Are you kidding?
Okay, here,
Yeah,
I can
sure.
hold it. So
Here, Fiona. Great. Or what, you need a plate?
Yeah, actually, why don't you guys keep chatting, and I'm going to put it on plates for you to make it easier
gosh,
to
this
eat
is
in front.
amazing.
One of the things we were talking about, I think before the video situation was fixed, the food here, this is high-end stuff. I mean, you go to different breweries and brew pubs, everyone seems to have a menu. This is next level. I mean, Trevor has... I mean, you learned from Amaro Cantu. I mean, this guy who was this mad scientist, this genius in the kitchen who learned from Charlie Trotter. The stuff that you put on the plate here is... This is an amateur hour here. This isn't just a bunch of fried pretzels and chips.
Yeah, well, the whole point was we wanted to make it approachable, but we also didn't want to just come in super lowbrow. So we still do the stuff that people want to have. We still do a pretzel, but we make it ourselves. A knife pretty much sees everything in our kitchen, so everything's super hands-on. Everything's from scratch. The wood fire grill especially adds a good woody character to a lot of our grilled items and our grilled meats. Here you go, if you'd like to start. And so.
I can't see who's, because of this new software, I can't see who's making the comments as we do this video. Someone just wrote about you that you're the man, and we're in good hands.
Oh, awesome, good. I don't know who it was, but hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Or lady, I don't know.
Could be. Okay, thank you.
That's for you.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. This is the
Amazing.
really glamorous part of the video. People
right.
watch us eat food.
Yeah, so the fried zucchini, we shave it super thin, and then we fry it. This is actually one of the dishes on the menu at my wedding. We got married.
Really?
Yeah, me and my wife got married almost exactly a year ago here at OIB.
Wow.
And did the full thing. Made a little lager called Till Death. It's a Pilsner that we served up, and her and I brewed it together. And then she loves this dish. This is one of her favorite dishes. So anytime that we're talking about OIB food, I always like to kind of premiere it.
Am I wrong to treat this as finger food?
Do it. You
Oh
can
my
eat it
gosh.
however you want.
Okay. Well, I realized Fiona went for the more proper silverware approach.
Sure, I would eat it with my fingers personally, but I'm also.
So I broke the rules, actually.
You're fine. I eat it with my fingers.
This is delicious.
It's delicious. The first thing that comes across to me is that citrus.
Yeah, totally. All that citrus zest on top. It makes a great accompaniment to Della, which is our Kolsch beer. It's super light and refreshing, and we're definitely going to be having that at the Trotter Project Beer Fest because it is something that, you know, it kind of gets people on. It's the hook, right? It's like, come try this Kolsch. And people are like, well, I don't know if I really like craft beer. And then they get to like have a little something that's like nice and crisp and refreshing. Like, oh wow, this is craft beer, great. And then you can start getting a little weird, you know. Then you give them something like the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is, you know, a beer that tastes exactly like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's the greatest name ever.
Thank you. We're actually going to be premiering that beer infused with some coffee that was infused with some of our hops from Dark Matter Coffee, our friends over there. And so it's going to be like a coffee horchata white stout. So we're getting weird with it, but it's delicious. It just tastes like, you know, like really sweet coffee. So.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, you can hurt yourself on it, no doubt. Yeah.
So how many beers do you have on tap at any given time here?
I think right now we're at like 10 of our own, but I can serve up to 12 off our taps. And then we'll have like varying guest taps and ciders, and we actually have a really great wine program. Most of our wine is bought from Robert Hood, who also used to work for Charlie Trotter as a sommelier, who's Paula Hood's husband. She works with the Trotter Project. She works for the Trotter Project. She is the Trotter Project with everyone else. And yeah, so there's a lot of those ties still in there. And then we also have a full cocktail program. So we actually get in amazing ice, and I can actually take your plate because this is full service, man. You don't have to keep your plate. Come on.
You are ruining me for all future guests.
All you have to do is get it to me, though. That's the one rub.
This is so good.
Slippery. It is so good.
Yeah, delicious.
Cool.
And the deceptive thing about the zucchini is, it feels light.
Right.
It tastes light.
Yep.
But you know it's deep fried. That's how they trick you.
That's it. Make you think you're not eating a ton of calories.
So you talked a little bit about this, but for this neighborhood, you are this anchor tenant. You're here. You're bringing new people in here. Someone who walks in who maybe isn't a craft beer enthusiast. What is that hook?
You know, for us, it's we try to cast a pretty wide net. That's why we have the cocktail program. That's why we have wine. That's why we have more approachable food. You know, you can do like the fine dining, like really fancy stuff, and scare a bunch of people away with.
Yeah, actually, you don't even need to like alcohol to come here and have a great night
actually,
out.
We're pretty kid friendly. I mean, you'll notice when you come in there, we've got the bag set in the back, and the kids can
I did
play
not
and
notice
carry
that.
on. Yeah.
Well, we're doing that afterward.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, so it's, you know, families come in here, and whether you drink, you don't drink, you're definitely welcome. We even have some non-alcoholic cocktails for those who don't drink. So.
Again, let's talk about the thing that kicks off next weekend.
Yes.
It is the Trotter Project Beer Fest.
Correct.
And that kicks off at the Irish American Heritage Center, which is very close to where we are right now.
Indeed.
And it's a week-long event. And let's talk about some of the people who are playing along with this. You mentioned Dark Matter.
I did, yeah.
Is there a better coffee in Chicago?
You know what? I think there's a lot of different coffee. I'm a big fan of coffee, and I love that there's a rainbow of different kinds. So I've got a bunch of different coffees I like, but those are my brothers. I mean, and brothers and sisters. I love them to death. They've done a ton with us. We've done a lot of charity raising together in the past, so I really like them.
Also, Haymarket is participating?
Yep, Haymarket Pub and Brewery.
You've done a few podcasts there.
Yeah, Pete Crowley and John Neurotter, my buds over there. Yep.
Twisted Hippo.
Oh, yeah, they're right down the street, 2 miles.
Forbidden Root.
Correctamundo.
Eris Brewing and Cider House.
Yeah,
Where is that?
A mile away on Irving. Yeah, they're just right down the road as well. Good friends.
And Cruz Blanca, which is Spanish for the White Cruz.
Ah, okay, if you say so. Yeah, no, those guys are great. And again, you know, they have a focus on food as well.
All right, so this whole event, $35 gets you brews and bites from all these places. I mean, really, this is a great way to spend a day.
Yeah, I mean, $35, and you know that you're kind of helping underserved youth in Chicago and helping them kind of chase their dreams. That's the whole point of the Trotter Project. So it's great.
Going back to Fiona, this is the insanity of this podcast. You two have nothing in common professionally.
No.
And I love bouncing back and forth between you two. That's beautiful.
It is fun.
You've done a ton of media as an entertainment lawyer. You've been on the BBC, on MSNBC. Do you like doing TV?
You know.
Do you like doing this?
Yeah. I would say that I feel like I am in a very privileged position to have a voice that I can use. So I feel like I have a responsibility to try to use that voice to advocate for my clients. So I think that for whatever reason I have a platform. You know, I've been practicing for nearly 12 years in this field exclusively. So I more think of it as a responsibility as part of my advocacy. So.
What would you say your biggest success has been that moment where you thought, oh, that makes it all worth it?
To be honest, it's forthcoming. I'll share it, even though it's not necessarily common knowledge. But I am just about to publish my first book. Yay! It's a children's book on immigration. So,
Get out!
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. So,
how long has this been kind of germinating?
For the past year. Well, this calendar year. So about 9 months or so. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We could use that.
Yeah.
For our education, you and I.
Oh, yeah.
I also know nothing about immigration.
Should do a first reading in the Car con Carne.
So, and you've been paired with an illustrator, or do you illustrate?
Yeah, so I'm working with a publisher in DC, and we've been working with an amazing illustrator. She's based in Italy. So the book kind of just really I want to explain I have 2 little kids, so I felt as a parent that I wanted to write something that really spoke to the message and what I do in my job. So the idea is that, America, when it's diverse and welcoming, that's a really good thing, and I've highlighted lots of different immigrant stories based on clients of ours. So it's a positive, it's not a anti this, that message. It's just a very positive message of diversity and just welcoming. So I'm very excited.
I do too. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
We gotta hear something good about it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is it weird seeing your words turn into images? That seems like that would be it'd be hard to totally be all in with that. Like,
I had like a very clear image of what, because part of the process is, and of course it's all new to me. I mean, I write all day long, but not for children.
Right.
The audience is slightly different. But I mean, I did have a clear picture of some of the things that I wanted to see. So we were able to give the illustrator some direction about things, and it's based on, like I said, friends, family. Like my brother who works with me, Ray, his wife Faith, she was adopted as a baby from the Philippines. So she has a page in the book, and an artist client of mine, Yulia, she's from Russia, she has a page in the book, and we actually got some of her artwork in there as well.
That's super cool.
Yeah. My daughter Rose did a little sketch that's gone in there too. So so it's kind of, I just felt like really inspired and really, I don't know, it sounds really crazy, but I just felt like compelled, I don't know, some type of divine inspiration to do it. And it wasn't actually that hard to think of like images and stuff like that. So I guess we'll wait for the critical reviews to come in, but I didn't think the process.
You're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about immigration law and the situation with immigration. Explain labor trafficking, because this is a thing, and
Right.
I think we all on the surface understand that. As it pertains to you and your work, explain labor trafficking.
I mean, I think that certain populations of the community can be more vulnerable, and undocumented immigrants certainly fall into that group. And unfortunately, when there's vulnerability, there can be exploitation that comes along with that. So labour trafficking would be where people are made to do jobs for very little wages. They're maybe possibly in unsafe working conditions. They're exploited, but it's to the level of, threats to call ICE, or, that type of extreme type of, behaviour from an employer. And to be honest, the rationale behind there is a potential visa for victims of labour trafficking, and the reason is that, if you think about it, the American worker public is made much less safe by people being forced into those conditions, because if an immigrant will accept, these type of dangerous conditions then, or lower wages and so on and so forth, it really has a negative impact on the US worker. So when you think about the rationale for enabling them to come forward and have a path, it really makes sense. So unfortunately, I think it's just vulnerability, exploitation, and really at the moment immigrants are just on a heightened sense of just anxiety, and it's just very unfortunate that sometimes, and it's a very small minority of employers, of course, but they can really take advantage of that vulnerability. So
From a percentage perspective, labor trafficking, sex trafficking is sensationalized. That's the one people talk
Right.
about. Are they equal in terms of their...
I mean, the thing that we look at
Occurrences,
as
I guess,
well
what I'm
is,
trying to
I don't know statistically what's more prevalent one over the other, but certainly the trauma that's inflicted on, and that's really what it's about as well. Like a lot of the clients that have gone through either labour or sex trafficking are extremely traumatised, and you know, part of the process is making sure that they have access to social services, therapy, that type of thing, to help them work through that. And it's tough on the attorneys as well,
Yeah.
you know, not to put us in any way, but I mean, I'm
but
conscious
that's a
of,
fair response.
yeah, secondary trauma to our staff, and you know, you have to be very just aware of even doing a consultation, because a lot of times people don't necessarily volunteer the trauma straight away.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, you have to be very sensitive about that type of inquiry as well. So
It's hard not to take your job home.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
And Trevor, you take your job home, right?
Yeah, but not like that, you guys. It's beer. Okay? Like,
Can I take your job home?
Yeah, right?
right, yeah, right. You can actually in a growler or something. So,
Oh, so what do we have here?
so yeah, just to break up the.
It's all about balance. It's,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also brought some fresh forks and knives. Rather, Matt brought fresh forks and knives. I don't know why
Thanks,
I said
Matt.
I.
Oh my God.
I said the text.
this is the octopus, right?
The royal eye. So I split this one up into two for you, and I'm going to have Matt spiel it again because he's so very eloquent.
Are you not eating anything?
I'm not.
Hey.
I'll explain in a second. Here you go.
Oh my gosh.
This is our wood-fired octopus. It's grilled over a wood fire in our
my
kitchen, marinated and served on top of fried Yukon Gold potatoes with olive and sweet red pepper relish.
Beautiful.
This is almost like
Well
a.
stated, man.
There's almost like a bark on this.
There is. So that's from the
Amazing.
char on the wood fire grill. If you get
Oh,
the
my
char,
God.
it adds another depth of flavor.
Oh,
So I'm gonna hand those off to you. This is definitely one you're gonna want to put on your lap and have it with a fork and knife.
Uh-huh.
I have a
Can I
huge.
get a napkin?
Of course you can.
please finish
I
that
should have
sentence.
brought a bit.
Please
yeah.
finish that
Oh
sentence.
yeah.
But octopus holds a huge place in my heart. I've always loved it. We had a menu item at Moto where we would confit octopus, and it was like one of my favorite cooking methods. It was the first time I realized just absolutely how delicious octopus could be. And I also went to Spain one time and had probably the finest bite of food I've ever had in San Sebastian
Do you have a napkin?
with
I'm
my
gonna
dear
get one. Here, you
friend
take.
Derek Hull, who is, again, just like Paula and everyone else, is the Trotter Project. Do you have everything you need? What do you need?
I think I just took her napkin.
That's fine.
Oh, that's all right. And here's another
No,
one.
I gave it to
Boom.
you. You didn't take it.
All right, there you go.
The interesting thing about this is delicious, by the way.
Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh.
The interesting thing about octopus is the texture,
Yeah.
and I think Anthony Bourdain said something like, "Texture is the final frontier for American cooking."
That's exactly it. Yeah. And the thing about it is, you know, octopus is one of those things, it's 60 seconds or 60 minutes, right? Anything in between is going to be a rubber tire. So low and slow, that's the tempo. And let all those proteins break down and then it just becomes something else. You know? It's really one of my favorite
This is
things.
amazing.
And it's one of the few things that hasn't really changed since we launched it on the menu 3 years ago. So.
Wow.
Is this a popular item? I would think this might scare some people off.
You know what's funny is I don't think it would organically be a popular item, but I think the staff is so passionate about the dish itself that they sell it all the time. Even our lunch guy Josh, who has actually become a dear friend of mine, he sells it all the time, even though it's not on the lunch menu. It's just like a unspoken agreement between him and the kitchen that he's going to sell it like crazy.
that smoked flavor is amazing.
It's
Isn't that
delicious.
cool? That's from the
Yeah.
wood fire.
And tell me again,
A little bit of hickory and cherry.
this.
Yeah, so that's just a garlic aioli. We take our sauces really seriously here.
Amen.
So yeah, every time we make a garlic aioli, we really, I think Chef Trev, he really pours over it and makes sure that it's just right. And it's really balanced and nuanced.
Like I said, you don't even need to drink to have a great night here.
No, exactly. I'm sure it's pairing fine with the Topo Chico.
But that said, what's your favorite beer here? Like when you're drinking your own stuff
I'll
recreationally.
tell you what my least favorite question is. No, I'm just kidding. I think as you become a brewer and you start making these craft beers, I used to be a big stout guy, and I was an IPA guy, and then all this other stuff. You know what's funny is nowadays I drink like really light lagers, and I like really spritzy sours, and I like, when people like put things under 5%. I like things that are sessionable because I drink for a living. I don't need to be,
Right.
drinking
Yeah.
8% IPAs and big old bold stouts. Maybe once in a great while, but I would say probably our Kolsch, the Till Death Pilsner that comes out, and then Oktoberfest is probably my favorite one. We have a big party here on our anniversary like the weekend of the 21st, which is going to be our 3-year anniversary, and call it a Hoptoberversary, and it's 3 days of just jolly good fun and big steins of our Oktoberfest lager and German food, dancing.
One of my great takeaways from tonight is the story behind Till Death.
Thanks.
That's the greatest.
Yeah, it's a meaningful beer.
Fiona, these potatoes.
Yeah. You poach them, you smash them, you fry them, and it's just the best way to cook a potato. You'll see that in a few restaurants in Chicago. I think it might have started with Mr. Jared Wentworth from Longman and Eagle originally, and I think I don't know. I think there's a long Bristol back in the day. I think when he was there, and you'll just see these things everywhere. It's kind of like a little hidden legacy in Chicago dining that maybe it's just kind of stuck around.
And you do hot chicken here too.
We do. We have a Nashville hot sandwich, which is to die for. It's served on a sriracha bun.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's pretty naughty, but it's delicious.
It's a great way to sell beer.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Make things really spicy. People have to drink a bunch of beer, a bunch of Kolsch to chase it with. So yeah, and this neighborhood likes spice. Every time we make something spicy, they're like, more spice. Okay.
I do love a good Nashville hot.
Who doesn't? It's amazing.
In Nashville, I haven't been to many places, but Nashville was one of the first U.S. cities I went to where I thought, if I had to, I could live here.
Oh yeah.
Like I've lived in Chicago my whole life, but Nashville's kind of great.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of great music. There's a great vibe. The people are really nice. They're like really kind and gracious. You know, they just have a little that southern hospitality. You really feel it in Nashville. I feel like, you know.
And that was one of my to-dos when I went there was go to Hattie B's.
There you go. You gotta do it.
You gotta
do it. Yeah, absolutely. There's places all over the world. That's the best part of traveling. I think the best way to get to know a culture, a people, is probably through their food and their language. You know, I mean, how they talk, how they act, and what they eat.
I used to travel a lot for business, and it's true. Whenever I had any free time at all, and I would travel by myself, I would try to find that place, that restaurant.
Yeah.
Off the beaten path. I would try to show myself as much of that city as possible, assuming I'd never have the chance to go back.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do whenever I would go to another city.
Call it fall on your nose, man. It's anytime I'm in a place, I always try, and I try not to have people tell me. That's why I have a weird thing about that. I kind of want to find it organically, like some kind of explorer, you know. Even though there's plenty of stuff on your phone, but it's like, come on, like we can do this, you know.
Yeah.
Ask a local, sit down, have a beer somewhere, chat with someone over that beer, and have them tell you what their favorite place is. You know?
Yep.
That's the thing.
How's the food in Dublin? Do you miss it?
You know, I do. I was going to say, speaking of potatoes, I feel like I am like an expert.
I hear they eat some potatoes in Ireland.
Yeah, in like so many different ways to cook potatoes. But I just got back. I was home for a week or so, but I miss the fish. You know, there's a lot of fresh fish being right there. And I just feel like, you know, within Chicago, just in terms of like geographically speaking, it's just hard to get access, to that type of fish. But no, the food in Ireland is great. I feel like there's a couple of vicious rumors floating around that I want to like absolutely dispel. There's like that we drink warm beer, that, you know, the food is terrible. I'm not sure like who's
proper temperature.
But I don't know. I feel like there's a couple of vicious rumors, but the food in Ireland I think is amazing.
I think maybe people are confusing you with Scotland, because I lived in Scotland for a while, and the food, and I'm Scottish, like somewhere in my heritage, but no, the food is bad in Scotland. Straight up.
The food in Ireland is amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Trevor, are you always kind of keeping your eyes, ears, and nose open for new concepts,
Totally. Absolutely. I mean, I love going out, and me and my wife, we love going out and dining, and I do get inspired at weird times. You know, it might be by, you know, someone else's drink, maybe it's by a cocktail. Right now we have a beer on called the Mai Tai PA, which I was like, I'm a big junkie for like huge, big, boisterous, like tropical cocktails. I love them. I think it's amazing.
Anything you can light on fire or put an umbrella in.
One of my favorite treats to myself is going to Lost Lake and just like letting those guys do their thing. It's just so much fun. So I was like, I want to like encapsulate all those flavors in a, you know, in a beer, so someone feels like they're actually drinking a Mai Tai. And we did that. It's really cool. We actually won an award last week at the Old Irving Park Beer and Barbecue Challenge for like we got voted best beer with like over 1,000 guests. So that was really fun.
Congrats.
So yeah, I get inspired by anything. A lot of thoughts come in, you know, while you're taking a shower or something, because that's when it happens, right?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
When inspiration hits. All right, so back to immigration.
I love this flip-flop.
Nice segue.
Just like a quick segue. Immigrants also work in restaurants. Anyway, immigration.
This is true.
So let's talk about, you started your law practice how long ago?
Almost 10 years ago.
You have 10 people working for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So where do you go from here? If someone, let me backtrack. If someone wanted your help, what do they need to do?
I mean, we have lots of different methods of communication depending on what works. I mean, obviously we have a website. People can get our phone number, email address. We're online, all different social media. So the firm is McEntee Law Group, and then I kind of have my own social media thing. US Visa Lawyer is my Twitter and Instagram. But yeah, so we're pretty easily contactable.
I love it. All right, and you talked about the greatest success, or the thing that gave you the most joy. What's been the hardest thing since you opened up your doors?
Oh gosh. You know, I would say one of the hardest things was I was one of the, along with my brother and some other colleagues, on call at O'Hare Airport post travel ban for 6 months.
Which seems like forever ago, and it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. And it was really traumatizing, I think, for everyone involved. But I mean, I remember, I'll never forget one day, it was like a few days kind of post when the ban had just been stopped by some of the courts. But we welcomed a Syrian refugee family come through O'Hare. Now, they would have been banned indefinitely per the ban, per this version of the ban, and even now they would. But there was a mum and a dad and a family. There was like 5 kids. Now, they'd gone through the refugee process, which is very, very stringent. They'd been probably living in a refugee camp in Turkey for years. The kids might not have known anywhere else other than the refugee camp. But, you know, we were there to welcome them to the States, and we went to the little shop at O'Hare and got little balloons and, you know, just stuff. Like, we were like, what can we do to make them feel welcome? Like, and I never forget the looks on their face. They were, you know, just, of course, arriving in a new country, language, you know,
overwhelmed in every possible way.
In so many possible ways. But there was a group of us, the volunteer lawyers, just there, and, you know, we all, I think, were probably unsuccessfully holding back the tears.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was when I just kind of knew, you know, politics aside, I felt like I knew we were kind of on the right side of history there. So, yeah, that's a moment that stands out.
When you started learning or going to school for law, was immigration where you wanted to end up, or did the process kind of inform your career choice? I have a law degree from Ireland, and, you know, studying law in Ireland, like in, you know, 2000, there wasn't even immigration as an option. But growing up, my dad's nickname for me since I was a little kid has always been Save the Whales. So, you know, Dad's been like, okay, save the whales. So it was always, you know, like some type of environmental cause or that kind of thing. So I only really discovered immigration when I moved to the States, and I was like, that sounds interesting. I'm an immigrant. It's very like socially kind of, you know, and I was like, I'll try that out and see. So it was like almost day one at Chicago Kent when I found immigration law, and I just like knew this is exactly what I was supposed to do. So yeah, I feel pretty lucky in that respect, because there's a lot of people that don't really ever get to experience. I feel like you guys both are doing exactly what you love to do, but, you know, I think that not everyone gets to do that. So I grew up wanting to record a radio show in a car.
And here you are.
Dreams come true. And eat in the car.
Yeah.
I guess you don't need to have a career to eat in the car. Everybody does that. Being surrounded by music at 2112 and around North Knox, what kind of music do you listen to?
Oh, you know, kind of varied. I was going to say, if my daughter has anything to do with it, it's like, Alexa, play Disney music.
Yeah.
But that aside, I mean, I love like listening to a lot of my Irish clients and just Irish bands. So there's a lot of those that I like. But I mean, I love Americana. I love, you know, Bruce Springsteen will always have a special place in my heart. But yeah, pretty varied taste in music, I would say.
Trevor?
Yeah. Oh, you're asking me what?
Yeah.
Kind
What
of
do
music
you listen to?
Oh God.
This is how we get closer together, is learning each other's music.
Totally. I have a very eclectic taste. I like a little bit of everything, and I mean everything. I can listen to like crazy metal, and I can switch right into techno, and then I can go into like a folk set, and I can listen to anything. So I like a little bit of everything, but admittedly a metalhead. Yeah, I work in a brewery, and I have a beard, and I live in a cave. So I mean, like literally, of course, I listen to metal. Makes the most sense.
Where do you stand on the forthcoming Slipknot album?
You know, I'm a big fan of Slipknot. I always have been. I've listened to a couple of the tracks. It's pretty good. I mean, they still got great energy, and nothing will ever compare to the first two. Always in anything. But
I gotta say, listening to the first, I think they put out 4 songs now from the album.
they have.
This is
They're all
gonna.
really good.
They're all really good.
All really good. Yeah.
This is going to be the album for the band. I mean,
think so?
I know
Yeah.
those first two were had their moment, they had their impact, but I think this album's going to be ridiculous for the band.
I'm tied in. They seem happy. That's the cool part. Is like Corey, the lead singer. He seems really, really happy these days, and I follow him on Instagram and everything. I'm like, oh, look at him. He's all happy and everything. So let's hope that good music comes from that, because usually in the metal world, the less happy they are, the better.
Right, of
the
course.
music is. Yeah, so.
I will say Corey Taylor's probably the front man in rock.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's got the pipes, he's got everything. He's got the presence, he's got the 2 bands.
Writes books.
Writes
Does a
books?
little bit of everything. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Sure does. Yeah.
Are you going on Sunday?
No.
You're here, right?
Yeah. Well, no.
Oh, right.
I'm at the Trotter Project Beer
Of
Festival,
course.
of course, from 1:30 to 5 p.m. at the Irish American Heritage Center.
Of course. I will not be at Slipknot because I will be right around the corner.
And then maybe we run away after the fest and we go see Slipknot.
Right.
You
Maybe
know, whatever.
maybe catch a little Volbeat.
There you go.
beforehand.
Nothing wrong with that.
I do
Yeah.
enjoy my Volbeat. Here's the great thing about having a teenage boy.
Yeah.
He's my +1 for all this stuff now.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's totally into all
Yeah.
this. So he's like, Dad, did you get tickets to Maiden yet?
Oh, that'd be a good one.
I'm like, say that again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Run to the hills. Let's get the tickets.
Run to the hills. Flight of Icarus. Although one of my worst concert going experiences ever happened at an Iron Maiden show. Fiona, have you ever seen Iron Maiden?
No,
Okay.
no, not that I can remember.
So saw them, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago. It was tour in the summer, outdoors. They were playing out in Tinley Park at what at that point was, it wasn't Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, it was maybe Tweeter World, I don't know what it was at that point. Went with a couple guys, and we were in the pit, and it was very hot. It was like 100 degrees. Everyone was sweating and disgusting. And we left the venue, and as we walked to the car, I thought, we were right by the car, I thought, these guys reek. Like, I know we were all sweaty, but man, these guys really smell awful. I was driving in the car. I'm like, really, these guys smell like shit. These are these are some of the foulest smelling people I've ever hung out with. Dropped them off. I'm like, oh, thank God they're gone. Like, whew. Had a long night. Everyone's sweaty and disgusting. I looked down at my shoes and the floorboard of my car and realized I had stepped in excrement
Oh,
at the Iron Maiden
no.
show. And then it was like one of those movies where suddenly it just pulls back and it flashes back right to the moment of impact.
Oh.
I remember as we were walking to the car, there was an odd dude walking between the cars in the parking lot. He looked really messed up.
Oh,
He's
God.
like, hey, what's up? If I am correct, he defecated by my car and I stepped in it.
Oh, my God.
So I had that moment of realization that no, my friends don't smell like animals. And I need to figure out how to detail the car.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Thank God it wasn't in this lovely Mazda provided
Yeah.
by the Autobahn Mazda of Evanston. That would have been disappointing. So the next morning, and again, it is like 100 degrees outside. I had to go through 2 car washes. I was scrubbing. I threw away my shoes, obviously. And you don't wear nice shoes to an Iron Maiden show anyway. But yeah, that's my... I kind of have PTSD when it comes to Iron Maiden because of that
Yeah.
experience.
You're not really selling me on going to a show, so.
Now the show was great, and I've seen Iron Maiden subsequently, but that's one of my most lasting concert memories. And with that said, is the food on the way?
The food is on the way. We've got no kidding. Yeah, proper dinner talk there. Yeah. No, I've got our final course on its way. Speaking of courses, a cool thing about the Charlie Trotter Days, we actually during those days, so starting the 11th, a whole slew of restaurants on the whole entire planet are going to be featuring a Chef Charlie Trotter inspired dish. The proceeds of which are going to go directly to the Trotter Project. It's so cool. I know when I was at Moto, we actually dug up a couple of old Trotter dishes and kind of reimagined them, and it was such a fun experiment. And I'll tell you what, those dishes still hold up today.
Oh, I bet.
Speaking of dishes, right on cue is Matt with your next course.
Oh my god,
All right, hang on,
there's
let's
more.
Split the burger. Yeah, this is the last one. Yeah,
So this is the burger of the week.
Yeah, this is the burger of the week that we do every Monday.
And Matt's going to explain this. Let me
Yes.
hand that to Fiona.
Oh, okay. No, this is not the burger of the week. I apologize.
I'm sorry. I thought it was OIB burger.
No, it was burger of the week. But that's
Oh.
okay. You guys are gonna have the OIB burger.
I didn't
Okay.
want... The
Wow.
burger of the week didn't interest me at all.
Oh, I think they were both really interested in the burger of the week. That's all right.
That's fine.
Oh, this
Later.
looks
We can do a
amazing.
fourth course if you want.
Oh my
I
god,
think
no
they're gonna be
way.
so
No,
full.
this
But
looks delicious.
we'll kind of go
Yeah.
over the OIB burger, which is also amazing,
Oh,
and Matt's going to
it's
explain it.
amazing.
Yeah. So this is our everyday classic burger. It's an 8-ounce patty cooked on the wood fire. We have caramelized onions, white cheddar cheese, that same Beezer vinegar aioli, and a rosemary bun. And we're very much known for how epic our French fries are.
Oh,
They
yeah.
look amazing.
Yeah, I've had them
Thank
before.
you.
They're amazing.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank
Take
you.
plates, or are we gonna- Yeah, that'd be awesome, actually.
And I will say the IPA, the vinegar,
Someone's asking a question.
you offer curbside service for us normies.
You know what? For sure. You give us a call. We'll bring out some food to you. It's fine.
It's just like
I can't
meatheads.
serve booze to you, so if you want a beer, you're gonna have to come in. But, yeah.
But the IPA vinegar, is it?
Yeah, it's an IPA vinaigrette. So what we did was we actually had some. Sometimes you always have kind of what we call like fluffy bottoms or something like that, where the beer is not exactly serviceable. And so what we did is we teamed up with these guys that actually make vinegar out of the right bee space, and I call them the Vinegar Boys, and they make vinegars, and they're really beautiful. And so the Beezer vinegar is like super tropical and fun because that's how the beer is. And
Well, I was going to say it's very subtle.
Delicious.
Like
very subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not too sour. Really fun. And then the rosemary bun, made in house.
Oh,
we've
God.
That
had
is
this.
so good. It's
Yeah.
like so soft.
Oh
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to show this as best I can to the camera. This is a perfect medium rare.
I was gonna say it's cooked to perfection.
This is a perfect
This
medium
is
rare.
amazing.
really glad
I
it
don't want to
is.
spill some juice on the
So,
microphone.
I'm on TV, guys.
Yeah.
We caramelize the onions really low and slow. White cheddar.
And they're
bun.
super sweet.
Yeah, they are.
Oh man, that's a nice taste.
That's the Vidalia onions. If you go
Oh.
low and slow on that and really let those sugars caramelize, and then we slack it out with like a little bit of butter and balsamic vinegar.
This is amazing.
That's the way
Seriously.
to do. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Oh my god, it's
Trevor,
so
this
good.
is like candy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is so good.
Yeah, we're really proud of our burgers. Yeah, we've come a long way. When we first opened, we had them on like a focaccia bread, and they were delicious, but it was a hot mess. But now with a baker in house who actually knows what he's doing, it's
The rosemary
we've come a
bun
long
is.
way.
Oh my god.
This is something special for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Eric does great work.
Oh, Eric, you are. I want to give Eric a hug.
This is
All right,
amazing.
he's not much of a hugger, but yeah, you think I like heavy metal? That guy really does.
I'm so glad we all met.
Me too.
This is amazing.
That's awesome. It's too bad we can't drink beer out here because the Beezer IPA would go perfectly with that.
We're coming back. I'm bringing my team back in 2 weeks for happy hour.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah,
I'll give you my
definitely.
card after this one.
Okay.
I'll give everyone a tour.
that will be amazing.
Yeah. We do offer tours pretty much every day at 3 p.m. No one ever takes advantage of them, but I'm here hanging out on the weekdays. Come by, say hi, I'll give you a tour.
Yeah, I would love the tour.
Yeah, I'll give you one after this.
Cool. I mean, I love just both of you. I mean, I love the entrepreneurship. That is actually what you have in common
Yeah.
Yeah.
professionally. Entrepreneurship.
There you
And
go.
kind hearts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is delish. So
Okay.
good.
So, oh my God, those onions are ridiculous,
Yeah, they're good, right?
and the bun is so nice and soft. I had something to say. Fiona McEntee, you practice law,
Yes.
as previously mentioned on the show. You practice immigration law. You can be contacted all across social media, various platforms. You are an advocate. You are a supporter. You are doing things for all the right reasons. And I'm really glad that you hung out in the car and talked about beer and Iron Maiden and
Yeah.
cheeseburgers and octopus.
Thank you for having me.
Did you have fun?
Oh my gosh, how could you not have fun, in fairness? Like, yeah.
And
Great.
Trevor,
Yes, sir.
my metal friend,
What's up?
thank you for the hospitality.
Of course. It's awesome hosting both of you, and I'm glad to learn more about immigration, obviously. It's a huge topic right now, and it is a hot topic for us in the restaurant industry, actually. There's a lot of parallels, and it does greatly impact what we do day in and day out. So
I believe that.
Yeah.
So the Trotter Project Beer Fest kicks off on Sunday, the 11th, happening at the Irish American Heritage Center. If you like beer and you like food, you need to go to this. So that means everyone should go.
Yeah, $35. 11 breweries now on the docket, plus a special collaboration beer between me and Dark Matter, a bunch of food. Helios Construction just gave a huge donation to the Trotter Project, and they'll be hosting it. They're going to have little gift bags for everyone when you arrive. This is probably going to be the best bang for your buck beer fest. And
no doubt.
We go to a lot of them. So.
Yeah.
No doubt. It's right here on the north side. Fiona, Trevor, thank you for doing this.
Of course.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Car Con Carne is presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. Thank you for watching. Support what these people do, and tell a friend about this podcast, please.